Yeah.
I literally can't do it anymore. I don't want to see, because as an actor, I'm not interested in seeing my face.
Olivia Colman said some comment, did you see this recently?
No.
Made some comment about like self-tapes being the bane of our lives type thing. People got really mad, of course, because people get mad about
because people didn't say much.
Do you want some water as well, by the way?
Oh, some water, definitely. Because
people get mad about everything, so everyone got very angry at her.
The only good thing about self-tapes, if you can bear looking at yourself and you have like a flat that's in the countryside somehow, you need a non-distracting background. I bought that flat and my walls are orange.
Yes.
And they're covered in colour and...
They're like natural light, we want a white background.
I'm like, no, I actually stopped doing all of that. I was like, I'm not buying a background, I'm not doing any stuff. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not in my home. It was that... it happened in lockdown, that actor.
Yes.
Yeah, that thing.
I know what you mean.
When the guy was like, oh, look at these
Yes, they said it on the
actors.
audition.
And he was like, I can hear you.
Yeah.
That one. And that was
He was like, give me the fucking job. Give me the job and I'll...
But imagine just going, oh, look at their little house. I'm like, where do you think we live?
Yeah.
And also, his flat was nice. Oh my God, I was really...
infuriating.
Angry.
I remember that.
I'm not doing, get the right lighting. I do it on my Mac. And I'm like, as long as you can see me and hear me, that's what you're getting. Because also, the kind of, with a tape, the thing that I can hate is, number one, you don't get to audition the people.
That is such a good point.
And there's been times where I've ended up on jobs and I'm like, had I known this was going to be
if
the
I'd gone into the room,
I would not have done this.
Yeah. You have to make the mistakes though. I feel like I've done this maybe ever so slightly less with acting and more with producing, but like I've made the mistake where like I have misjudged a person early on, or I have not read the signs.
Yes,
maybe that's it.
Yeah,
like
not read
the
the
whole
signs,
like when someone shows you who they are, believe them. I definitely for a few instances like I did not believe them.
Yeah.
I gave them a second. I sort of put it aside. I was like, but da 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 da.
Yeah.
And then you have a crushing.
Going, why did I do this?
Time.
And that's why auditions. The thing is, I think there are reasons why self-tapes are great. I think that accessibility issues, whether that's to do with physical ability, whether that's to do with money, because I had, back in the day, didn't have money to go to auditions and I would walk like literally across London because I couldn't afford travel. So if I had the option to do a tape, I would have done a tape.
That's it.
I think the option to do a tape should be there.
I completely
Do you want to
agree.
come in? Do you want to do a tape?
Yeah.
That's how I think it should be.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But the thing that I hate about tapes is you don't get to audition the people who are auditioning you.
Yeah.
But also, what they want is the finished product. You don't have somebody going, okay, that was great. I can see you can act.
I know.
But like, why don't you try it this way? And having been on the other side of like and auditioning people, you see it too. Where you're like, that person's clearly really good.
Yeah.
They didn't just get that. So how can I help them? And I've done it. The thing that I know I can do is I can take a note. I can do it one way. You give me a note. I'll go silent for a bit and I'll go, all right.
Give me a second.
And I can do it. And if you don't have that, all you're doing is you're reading something and you're trying to do the final performance.
Yeah.
And I think...
And you're like, is this it? Is this what you want?
Yeah.
And maybe they're like, no, but it could have been.
But it could have been if you tell me and you have that discussion. And so, I think it was really unfair, that pile-on, because I did read about it.
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry, what is Olivia Colman taping for? That's the thing that got me. I was like, are you
taping?
Are you taping, babe?
Are you taping?
You've got an Oscar. What?
Ain't nobody...
Babes, are you taping? And I bet she is.
Let's have a little chat.
I bet she is.
Liv, you do not need to be taping. You should not be taping. I bet if she is, though, I bet she has a great self-tape studio.
Oh, yeah, I bet she's got... She's like, I hate them. Here's my studio. And you're like, okay, cool, babes. All right.
Okay, so I'm going to set the scene because, first of all, this is the final episode of Series 3.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Feel special?
I feel very special, yeah.
Good. And more and more, I'm doing these interviews in person, which is, to the self-tape conversation, so much nicer.
I've done, podcasts via Zoom and it's
so much nicer.
Soul-destroying.
But I have this real sense that with Hear Me Out, I want it to feel like people having a little cup of coffee, curled up on a sofa, or having an old-fashioned at the end of the night, it's like lovely, cosy chats and vibes.
Yeah.
And so I don't ever want to record these in-persons in a studio.
Yes, okay,
Because
fine.
that does not feel like it.
No,
is
you immediately
the
sort of
synergy
go...
with the vibe.
Yeah.
So today we're in home house.
We are.
We're in a bedroom.
Gorgeous.
Which is maybe a step further than I intended.
No, I love it. I love it. It's beautiful.
I didn't need it to be that cosy, but it's a beautiful domestic space where we can feel comfortable.
Yes.
And it's very lovely. So thank you, Hope House. So we've been trying to do this for ages. You're an incredibly busy woman.
Yes.
Do you want to tell me first what you've been doing in the last few days?
Yes. So I write as well, and have been developing a feature film for the last maybe 4, nearly 5 years.
Wow.
As a writer-director, and to be in it. They just got to a point with development where genuinely I was getting bored and frustrated. And so I just wanted to park that project and just create and make something beginning to end, in completion, have the thing. And so I decided at the end of last year that I was going to try and make as many short films as I could this year.
Great.
And a few days ago...
Unrelated to the feature.
Completely unrelated. So these were... I literally sat down in November and wrote 3 short scripts. And I was like, that's enough. If I get one of them made, that would be great.
Yeah.
And so we just wrapped one of the short films.
Right.
Which was an incredible... So this is me. So I've written it and in it and have directed it. And it was just one of the most amazing experiences.
Was this the first then of those 3?
The first of the 3.
Well done.
Yeah. It's such a weird time in the industry because post the strike, it has affected UK work so much. And, this is to do with Screen, really.
Well, but I was about to say, I think theatre as well, because I think whatever you're about to say about Screen, those effects mean it pushes people who maybe would have been on screen into theatre. So I think it's sort of dripping,
Completely. So there's just, there's... As a result of the strike, I think that what had happened before the strike was, I felt there was, I can't believe I'm about to say this, I felt there was too much television. There was like television being made and shows would come and go, and that's great for work. But in terms of getting like invested in a TV show, invested in characters, invested in stories.
And finding your audience.
Yeah. I keep saying there are shows that we herald as like these amazing kind of beacons of the industry, like The Office. That would never get a second series. That would never get all these shows that were, I love this. It would never see the light of day in this climate.
Gosh.
And I think that what I was feeling as a performer was that you were in things that nobody was really backing or trusting. And even as my friends who've written some of these projects, they felt like we've done all this work and actually nobody is shouting about it. Nobody's watching it. Nobody's promoting it because a lot of these companies, they don't have the budget to promote all these shows. So that was what was happening. So even though there was a lot of work, no one was really sticking to anything. And I think there has to be value in what we make. So as a result of that, then mounting something like a short film, which was self-funded, because again, there's no funding opportunities for shorts, bar the BFI really, in this country anymore. So to be able to just have 2 days where I can go, and of course there's pre-production, so it's longer than that, just going, okay, like who wants to get on board with something that has been made with intention? It's not going, I'm doing this short film in order to make this feature film. It's going, I've written this short because it is a short.
It.
This is it. Beginning, middle, end. This is why I've written it. Who wants to come on board? And it was honestly it was a thing that I creatively needed. Like it nourished me.
I'm really pleased for you. Who is the most important when you have so many roles? Obviously everyone is important. Who do you think is the most important crew member to like think is the shit?
Producer.
Is it?
Yeah, producer, somebody who absolutely believes in your work, who's transparent with you, also knows when to go, we're going to take you off the email thread. It's none of your concern now. I've got you. And the experience that I'd had before was not that. I was left kind of at the mercy of everyone by a previous producer, and it was awful, just not being protected in any way. And who understands and respects acting. Because I feel like oftentimes when you're trying to act and do other things, people think that that's the kind of lesser component, or they think, oh, you know, because you're an actor, you're going to have this sort of temperament and you're not going to have that sort of way of thinking. Whereas Maeva and the whole team, shout out Annie as well, shout out Zion, shout out Mohammed, they respect the craft and what it takes to perform. Yeah. And respect that in order to do that, you've got to be somewhat clever. I love it. Like, somebody asked me, what is it like directing and acting? Because I think that producers who don't really have a relationship to performance go, oh, that's a really crazy thing. Why would you do it? What's the sensation like? And I was like, the sensation is like this. When you're in a playground, like when you're at school, and you're playing like, I don't know, doctors and nurses. Yeah. So you'd be like, okay, you're there and you're on the floor and you've hurt your leg and you're screaming, you're, I've hurt my leg, I've hurt my leg. And you go, okay, Sarah, you come in and then you do this and then you do this and then you do this. Go! I've hurt my leg, I've hurt my leg. That's the sensation for what? 13 hours. Yes. Just going, okay, then you do that. And I thrive in that environment. That's such a good comparison. Because it's playful. Yeah. And also, it means that I'm a really big believer in like leaving your performance alone. And like not trying to act.
Yes, not thinking too much.
Not thinking too much. You've got to trust that you've done the work. You've got to trust that you're alive with people. And the more
you have other stuff to think about, the better the acting is. Yes, that's so 100%. Good.
So it's just that sensation all day. And then you sat down and you're going,
I go again tomorrow. I feel like I might have said this once on the podcast before, but I remember this one particular preview period for a show where so much was changing. Yeah. And it was like the most alive I've ever felt, because every night you'd be like in a scene and your brain would be going, what's happened? Something different happens in this scene. And I can't remember what it is, but when I get to it, I'm just going to hope that I know. Yeah. And then you get to the moment you go, that's it. Yeah. The line's been cut, and you'd cut it, and you'd be like, I did it. Yeah, I did it. Okay, what's the next bit?
Brilliant. Or like you'll be stood on stage, you're like, I am meant to be on the other side.
So I'll
just
go there now.
Just wander across the stage.
And what's probably we're doing the best acting of our lives. Of our lives.
Don't know. I have no idea.
Anyway, look, we must get on to the crucial question, which in a way brings us also onto National Youth Theatre, which I do want to ask you about. Yeah. But first of all, tell us, what is the speech that you have picked?
So the speech that I've picked is from a play called On Religion by Mick Gordon, who's a theatre maker, and AC Grayling, who is a kind of theatre religion kind of expert professor, not a theatre animal at all. Right. And it was part of, I think Mick Gordon had a theatre company called On Theatre. So it was these kind of plays that were also kind of theatre essays.
Yes.
And so I think there was one called On Ego, I think the year before this was, and then On Religion. Yeah. The reason why I'm sort of, it's because I've never seen it. I picked this play in the National Theatre bookshop, and I saw this monologue for drama school. Yeah. So it's weird. I don't have any connection to the production. Yeah. It's just me and a lot of, 18, 19-year-olds in a bookshop just going, where's the big bit?
Well, and that's a classic thing. That's an interesting thing to tell the listener, actually, because you're so right. I'd forgotten about that whole period of my life. Yeah. But yes, there was a time when speeches, when you're training or when you're starting out, when you're young, and speeches play a much bigger part in how you think your career is going to play out. Yeah. And you sit, as you say, in the National Theatre bookshop or the Royal Court bookshop, just pulling plays off the shelves.
Yeah. And the lovely person who works in the shop is helping you. What are you looking for? Yeah. You're like, age range? You're like, just a juicy speech, please. and I found
so you were literally just doing that. You were flicking for big bits, like you say.
Big bits. Literally looking for a chunk. And there's a woman's name and there's a chunk and you read it and you're like, nope. And then you go through it. Yeah. So it's so weird that this monologue has kind of changed the course of my life, and yet I've got no relationship to the actual production. Yeah. It's this speech, and it's from a character called Ruth, and she is talking about her husband has just died in a terrorist attack. And her husband previously was a lawyer and who wanted to become a priest, to retrain as a priest. And his mother is this huge sort of Richard Dawkins kind of intellectual, really anti-religion. Right. And she's talking about her loss of her husband and love and what that means. And the fact that love is just this really painful kind of cruel thing. And yeah, it really stopped me in my tracks. And also coming from a very religious family,
right,
and going through kind of what I was going through in terms of what do I actually believe, and you know, how do I actually see the world? I've been taught this, and culturally it's this, but like, what's my relationship to religion? It just all kind of made sense for my 19-year-old mind.
And it obviously got you into RADA.
It got me into the RADA.
How was your experience of auditioning?
So I auditioned twice for RADA. I auditioned when I was 18.
Right.
And I was terrified.
Do you remember what your speech was when
you
were
were 18?
No idea.
No idea. I'm pretty damn sure it was something by Dennis Kelly.
Yeah.
At the time, I think actually maybe the year after they like banned Dennis Kelly.
Did they? Because they were like, we're sick of it. We can't have any more Dennis Kelly.
I think it was maybe Love and Money.
Yeah.
Was it even out that
Love
year?
and Money. Francesca Moody literally just did Love and Money as her speech.
Oh, really?
Like 2 episodes ago.
Honestly, that makes a lot of sense because I feel like me and Francesca are sort of from the age of
loving Dennis Kelly.
Yeah.
That's really
like
funny.
really, really sexy time of Dennis Kelly, but we were all doing it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% certain it was that, but I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified because it's one thing being in an ensemble or doing a scene with somebody else, and it's the sensation of a monologue is peculiar to me. And so I just couldn't get my head around it. And so I remember I auditioned for RADA, balls that up. Like
any other ones? Was it just RADA?
Yeah, no. And then I auditioned for Guildhall. And I can't remember what I did. Don't remember the experience. And what you do...
You were in a complete daze.
I wasn't present at all. And then you kind of have to hang around for a bit.
Yeah.
And then they go, okay, you stay. And I wasn't called. I was like, fine. Just before... The reason why I was like, fine, was because in my audition, I can't remember who it was.
This is the Guildhall or the RADA?
Guildhall.
The Guildhall one, yeah.
And I remember Jodie Whittaker was... She was the kind of recent graduate that was sort of...
That was helping out.
Us. Yeah. She was so lovely. I remember thinking, she's really cool. And whoever it was who auditioned me, I was shaking.
Oh, yeah.
And they stopped me and they went, come back next year. So I did. I was like, I'm not ready.
Yeah.
Which is really weird because a lot of my friends also auditioned for drama school, like people who did drama at sixth form. And then I think no one got in, and so everyone was going to uni, and then I was like, I don't think I'm going to go to uni. I'm going to take a year out.
Try again,
And try again. I remember I had to lie to my parents. I had to lie and say that I had a place at... Where did I pick? What uni did I pick? I think I picked like a reasonable, they believed I got into that one. I was like, I'm deferring. Because they did not want me to become an actor. They absolutely categorically were like, no. And so then I worked in Madame Tussauds for a bit. Because it was, I went to St. Marylebone.
What a place.
Yeah, I went to St. Marylebone sixth form, and I saved up money. That's how I was able to buy the playtex, how I was able to go and start seeing shows and things like that. So I did that, and then I went back. I did my Guildhall audition. I got the recall.
Yes.
But then there's quite a long period of time that you've got to wait before you go back in. Also, I only applied for RADA, Guildhall, and I think that was it. Yeah. I think those two.
Wow. Because they're expensive.
Yeah, because it was expensive, I mean, more expensive now, I think.
Yes.
And then, so I was waiting to do my recall for Guildhall.
Yeah.
And then I did my first audition for RADA, and it happened fast. All 4 rounds happened really fast.
Wow.
Like within just over a month, maybe, I did all 4 rounds, and I knew I got in.
Oh my God.
So then I had to go back to Guildhall and be like, I think I could go to RADA.
Yeah,
so that's what happened. But it was... Yeah, so it was 4 rounds of auditions for RADA, and you do the initial monologue. And you do a little chat.
And you have to do like your classical as well, don't you have to do like...
Yeah, I think I did Antony and Cleopatra.
Yeah. Right.
I did Cleopatra. And then you do your kind of like more groupy stuff. I was like, I got this.
Yeah, you're like, if I can get through that bit.
Oh, if I can get through that bit, that is grand. So that was just really, the rest of it, once we started doing group, I was like, I've been doing this. I've been doing this bit. Yeah. This is great. And then you've got to do your monologue again. By then you're a bit warmed up. You're a bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
Then I got in. And then I remember I was on the bus 453 and it was getting into Elephant Castle, and I got a call from Nicholas Sparta, who was like, hello, just calling to let you know that you've got a place at RADA. And I was like, yay. Are you okay?
You're
I
like,
was like,
I'm on the bus. I'm really
I can't do loud voice.
excited.
I can't do loud voices in the bus. You know, there's people like, yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm like, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Are you
See
are
you
you
in
happy?
September.
Yes, I'll see you in September. I will buy a leotard, thank you. And then I was like, yay. And I remember the walk from Elephant Castle to my home was like the most glorious. I just felt amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really one of those moments where I'm like, yeah, that is such a core memory. And
I am exactly the same as you.
Yeah.
And I actually didn't, I would be really interested to know what your experience was like at RADA. I didn't love my time at drama school.
Yeah.
But the day I got in, I still think is one of the happiest days of my life.
They say often that is like the last time you'll be really happy.
As an actor, that's really funny.
And then it's
That's
just
really true.
stress. But you know what? I got home and I was like, I can't tell anyone.
Oh my God.
So I didn't tell anyone.
So at what point did you tell your parents you were going?
Well,
and surely, even if your parents don't want you to be an actor, when you get into RADA,
they don't care. They didn't give it. They don't know what that is. So
okay.
I kept it quiet. Obviously, I told like friends. And then I was very involved in National Youth Theatre, and they sort of allowed me to do that because I thought that's just like you being a kid or whatever, a club.
Yeah.
She'll snap out of it. And so I was doing a show in Manchester at the time. And it was kind of like, for them, it was my last hurrah before I start actually like doing a degree.
Yeah.
And I got a call from my dad, and because he liked to, God rest his soul, he's not with us anymore, but he always liked to go through my post, which is so annoying.
Yeah.
And so he opened my RADA acceptance letter. And so he called me and he was just like, what is this? I was like, I'm going to this drama school called RADA. And he was like, okay, when you get back to London, we need to talk about it. And I was like, that's not good. My dad was quite an angry man, to be honest. So him sounding calm, I was like,
that's spooks me.
That's not good.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this in like various kind of spaces, but he kicked me out. I didn't live at home.
Oh my
At
gosh.
RADA. Yeah. Because he was just like, if you're going to do this.
Did you have to move out at that point? Like, was that the
I moved
moment?
out just before term. And so the classes that I did at Marylebone every Saturday was run by ENO Bayliss, which is sort of education sector of English National Opera. This is, caveat, I am truly like the kid of Tony Blair, Tony Blair's Labour. And before he absolutely ballsed it up, the amount of funding that was in the arts was insane. I couldn't move for, I'm going to go and do a summer course on Shakespeare at the Albany in Deptford, and I would go and do it and not pay. There was loads of things. So ENO Bayliss was basically this Saturday drama group where you would do 1 hour of dance, 1 hour of acting, 1 hour of singing, and it would all be around whatever opera was on at the ENO, at the Coliseum.
Great.
And it was to get children involved in opera and to know about. So I went to the Coliseum for like, I think we had £5 tickets, and we'd go and see like La Traviata and get all dressed up with a feather boa and stuff with all these little kids, and they make a little fuss over us. And so this was what I did every Saturday.
Yeah.
And so a wonderful woman called Maria Leaf, who is a dear, dear friend of mine, she felt really bad because she was the one who like told me about drama school.
Right.
So I moved in with her. Oh. You know that thing where it's like, I'm going to show you. I had to get rid of that because my parents weren't interested.
Yeah.
And so I stopped, even when I graduated, I wouldn't tell them about stuff that I was doing or jobs that I got. They would literally find out from an aunt going, I've just seen Susan on the telly in Holby City. How exciting. Yeah. And, or like, you know, I'm in something, I'm on the side of a bus, and they're like, and it wasn't, it stopped. It was never this like protective thing. It was just I had to break up with the idea of getting approval from my family. Yeah. So then you learn, okay, why do I do it? So that's why so many of my choices is really like, okay, if I choose to do this because it's a choice, I had to effectively choose between my family and this. Yeah. So it's got to be joyful.
And if I've made that choice,
it's got to be joyful. I want to do the work that I want to do. And I felt that very, very strongly, I think,
I think that's a very healthy place to be in. I mean, I'm sorry you had to go through that early on, but like having had to do that, that's a very...
It's a very grown-up thing. It's a very...
I'm not there.
Yeah, I know. But it was a very grown-up thing, sort of being there and, you know, having things like... We have like prize fights, which is when we do our sort of stage fighting, swords and stuff. Yeah. And everyone's there with their parents, and I don't have my parents there. Or like we do shows, and you know my parents weren't there. Or I remember once I invited my dad to he came to see us do The Man of Mode.
Right.
And I thought, right, I know my dad. Like, I was like, he loves anything that's kind of, for want of a better term, oldie-worldy.
Yes.
That sounds very intelligent.
Yes.
He's like, I get that. That's very skilled. So he came to see that. And he was like, oh, yeah.
Oh, theatre can be this.
Theatre is that. I was like,
okay,
wow.
yeah.
And then I invited... And then I was like, right, brilliant. This is when the box of, I can get my approval started opening a bit.
Yeah.
And I was doing a four-hander called Four by Christopher Shin. And everybody, it's so stupid, but at drama school, everybody wants to be in the production that has a small cast.
Oh, of course. Yes.
You get to shine.
Yes, of course.
So I was in the small cast. It was me, an actor called Gonzag, Joshua Maguire, and Ivano Jeremiah,
right.
4 of us. And I invite my dad, and in it, it gets a bit sexy between me and lovely Gonzag.
Oh, gosh.
And I had to basically rip off his top, get on top of him.
Oh, gosh.
And snog his face off, which, to be honest, was a joy.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a lovely guy. Hi, Gonzag.
Dad watching aside.
I didn't
lovely.
put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah.
And I remember I walked out into the Rada bar and I saw my dad, and he just looked furious. And he just turned and left the building. And I just followed him all the way to Goode Street Station. I was slightly behind him. All the way down to the platform. And he turned around to me and he was like, "You're a disgrace.
Oh, seriously.
You're a disgrace." And got on the train. And I thought, well,
how did you feel in that moment? As in, how quickly did you manage to, I guess, learn from that as opposed to just feel that?
I just think the approval kind of monster in me I was like, yeah, put that in the box.
Quite quickly.
Yeah. Not doing that again.
Yeah,
I was like,
absolutely.
this just has to be, they're never going to get it. And actually, I knew that the way they would approve of what I did is if I just got on with it.
Yeah, okay.
I couldn't really go to them with any problems or issues or, you with a lot of actors, they may say to, a parent, carer, family member, I did that audition, I didn't get it.
Yes,
I was like,
of course,
okay, any kind of instability, insecurity.
They can't know about. Yeah,
it's business, I got this.
Yeah.
That was the only way that they were going to relax.
Yes.
So that was what I set out to do.
But hence everything you say about then looking for your family in the people you work with.
Which has been an amazing thing because I do have an amazing theatre entertainment family, but also it makes you look for family in the wrong places.
Yes.
It leaves you very vulnerable.
Yes. Well, it's good to hear that you're not being super mature about everything.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, you're making the rest of us look bad.
I've made mistakes. Don't you worry about that. Loads galore. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
That's all right.
Back on the speech.
Yes. Have we talked about what we want to talk about? I feel like I've just gone on a tangent. Anyway,
we've talked. What matters is we've had a lovely chat.
Okay, brilliant.
In a beautiful bedroom.
Okay, brilliant.
On a Monday morning with the cars tooting. Exactly, and that's all that matters.
Okay.
So in a moment, I'm going to get you to read the speech.
Yes.
Is there anything in the speech before we actually hear it?
Yeah.
Anything that you would want a listener to listen out for? Were there any arguments in it or lines in it? Because you said that it obviously tackles these incredibly big topics.
Yeah.
And certainly spoke to what you were going through at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, were there any debates or arguments in it where you were like, that particular thought is...
Yes.
Go on.
There's a bit in it where Ruth talks about love actually isn't the thing. It's kindness.
Yeah.
And I remember reading that, sat on the National Theatre bookshop floor. And that was the thing that really stood out for me, was just the importance of kindness. And I've really taken that very strongly, furiously strongly with me throughout. I feel like you can achieve anything with kindness, to the point where, this is how strongly I believe this. There was a project a long time ago that I was being considered for, a theatre project, and the person, one of the people who was involved with putting it together, was really rude to my agent. Really rude to my agent. And my agents they're wonderful, Scott Marshall Partners, shout out. And they're really wonderful. And I feel so strongly about being represented by people like them, and them doing all that sort of nitty-gritty work, because I trust them.
Yeah.
I believe in their integrity. They're lovely people. And so when my agent had sort of mentioned that there was this interaction, which was deeply unkind, based on that alone, I said, I'm not doing the project. Yeah. I'm like, we don't, if that's how negotiations begin in the beginning, absolutely forget it.
When someone shows you who they are,
believe them.
Believe them.
So yes, that was a bit that stood out for me.
Great note to end on. Okay, I'm going to get the microphone a little closer to you. You get your iPad.
Yes, I will do.
And let's hear the speech. Okay, I'm gonna put this just so that I've got another one.
Right.
Shortly after Susie started reading the monologue for us, a protest march/drive passed by the window, and despite all our best efforts to forge on undeterred, it was just a bit much.
It's actually really distracting. Oh my God, it's so bad, isn't it? It's all right.
I guess that's what you have to put up with when you insist on recording your podcast in somewhere other than a podcast studio. We tried noise-cancelling headphones to minimise distraction for Susie as she read, and we tried major sound editing and mixing to minimise distraction for you, the listener, as you enjoy. But ultimately, we decided that a clean recording was required. This is the final episode of this series, after all. So the following reading was kindly captured by Susie at her home in the days following the interview. This is from On Religion by Mick Gordon and A.C. Grayling.
With you and Tom, it was always the same. It was always about love. Love, love, love. You loved your work. He loved his God. You loved your son. He loved his mother. God, how he wanted your approval. He couldn't keep away. It was almost pathetic. And Tony... Poor Tony, he looks so sad now. Lost his sense of humour, and how you love Tony is so weird, but I know how much he loves you. And that's why I loved Tom and his fucked up family, because of all that passionate love whooshing around, and I did love it. Love you. All. Even you, who was so fucking rude all the time. I even loved you. But, you know, I'm less sure about love these days. Less sure that it's the most important thing, because it's just too much sometimes. Just too unmanageable. Don't you find? Unmanageable to the point that I do, because it so easily becomes, and it does become, it really does, it becomes ferocious. I see it every day. I see it in court. Cornered animals, wounded and willful, and what for? I think love. Mostly love. And what is it? I mean, you could tell me, Grace, couldn't you? Of course you could. You could describe it, use the correct language, delineate and separate and explain this thing, this feeling that we can't do anything much about except inflict it on other people, or try not to, but that's very difficult, seems to be. That's the problem. I do understand. I get it, I do. I get it. I look at little Chan and she's so helpless, and she's mine and my responsibility, and I get it over and over and over. Overwhelmed. And I choke on it every day. And that's why I think it's wrong, completely wrong, to give love such status, such celebrity, when it's just so unbelievably dangerous. I would kill for that child. Kill. Not a problem, no hesitation. For her, I would destroy, absolutely, mutilate someone. Like Tom was mutilated, you know? And I think... I'm coming to believe, in fact, that it is kindness, Grace. Kindness. That's the big one, not love. That's what I'm coming to believe, Grace. And it's probably the more boring, definitely, kindness, because It's calm and considerate and hesitant and certainly the more difficult one to do. I find, anyway.
Oh my God, you're a star. You are a star.
Mad out there. But
Mad out there.